Just so you all see the acrobatics and such. Shined her all up. 370 horsepower out of a 5.5 liter turbocharged inline 6 diesel. That's a lot of horsepower. God, it was a pain in the butt. There you go. Take a break. So I'm gonna be honest, guys, it's been 3 months since, let's see, March, April, May, June, July. It's been 4 months. 4 months since I brought this boat home. And tell you what, we have been running the piss out of this thing. I mean, I know you guys, when we capped off the maiden voyage video, I lost my port engine, I believe. It ran out of fuel. It was drawing off the starboard tank, which we came to find out. I had to reverse some valves down here, reprime the engine, which I'll show you on the fuel pump down below. Once I poured, 40 gallons of jerry cans of diesel into the starboard tank. Whatever, confusing. Port engine died, drawing off starboard tank. Generator draws off starboard tank as well. Long story short, as you all love to tell me in the comments, I should have brought a bunch of jerry jugs with me to make sure if I did run out of fuel that I had extra fuel. I had all the other safety gear but didn't bring extra diesel fuel. So right, wrong, indifferent. Maybe I just did it because I wanted to. No, in all seriousness, I should have brought some more diesel with me. But anyway, here she sits. I brought some tools today. There's a couple things I'd like to fix up on the boat. Anything as far as gel coat, finish, the hull side repair, which everyone keeps asking about, the big scar up forward. Yes, I've been running that hull side repair for 4 months now with shrink wrap tape on it. And stuff like this, where my rod holder is totally delaminated on this piece of the decking, which thankfully is just an old insert. So, see, we've got the hull and then this molded insert piece here that was added. That stuff's easy to fix and patch. But for right now, the main priority for using this boat was just to make sure it runs and drives well. So motors have been running good. I'll show you. The port engine seems to have a lot of black smoke at throttle up and a bunch of turbo lag. So it takes a little while to build boost to catch up with the starboard engine, and then you'll see the RPMs jump up, feel the boost kick in, and then you got to throttle back and synchronize engine RPM. But anyway, it puts a lot of black soot off of the port side of the boat there in the rear. So I've been running a bunch of injector cleaner through this thing. I probably need to clean aftercoolers, intercoolers, and I definitely need to change my water pump impellers, because like the oil and fuel filters that were on this boat, they were all 5 years old, which I changed all the oil, changed all the filters, labeled everything. I believe, I'll have to look back, but when I brought this boat home, it had 1242 hours on both engines. Now I'm at 1300 hours, so I put some hours on it. But anyway, I'm setting up here. Let me raise the engine hatch up. Need to get down below. My air conditioning unit keeps this hole down below cold. Still run my dehumidifier in the sink. For all you boat guys with cabins, do this. I mean, this is for like a 1,000 square foot basement. Get one of these. Even if you have air conditioner, get one of these dehumidifiers, run it, drain it into your sink. You'll thank me later. It is a game changer, especially for all this wood and upholstery, teak and holly floors. I want to keep all that nice. All right, let me open up the engine hatch and we'll get down below there. I'll show you a couple things I'm doing, a couple things I've done. I need to clean my AC strainer because I'm throwing a high pressure fault right now on the air conditioner. So It's that time of year where the water's really warm and the growth is plentiful. Oh, before I do that, wouldn't be a day after drinking if we didn't grab ourselves a fresh cold one. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. So here you go. Remember, this is only a 34-foot boat, so it's not like I have one of those massive engine rooms like a bigger sport fish, but it's actually, I mean, it's not bad access. Gives me good access to the top of both engines. I can get in and crawl around both sides fairly easily. But step down here, sit on this ledge. So as I showed you, taking my sunglasses off real quick. As I showed you guys, maybe in the previous video, twin Volvo TAMD 63 HP engines tied to ZF gearboxes, straight shaft boat, so the engines are directly in the middle of the boat. I sit right over top of them when I drive. And then I got my little 3-cylinder, I think it's a Westerbeek. Yep, Westerbeek 3-cylinder diesel generator, which is awesome. Actually really cool to have that. It runs at like 2,000 RPM and allows us to have air conditioning while we're out, charge the batteries, all that. But anyway, with these Volvos, lost this engine. Over here, we've got all of our mechanical injectors. So this is a mechanically injected diesel engine with our big old P-pump. On this side, 6-cylinder, inline 6, 5.5 liter, single fixed turbo, which are really noisy. She's got some good power. I mean, this little 5.5 liter packs a big punch. I think she's making 370 horsepower, which is probably a lot for this displacement, but that's Volvo for you. Anyway, there are my fuel filters, which have both been replaced. And then right here, if you can see it, is the nifty little plunger, which is pretty hard right now. But that is what I had to use to prime my fuel system after I ran out of fuel. Not to mention, this was the valving board I was talking about. So it's a little Starboard box that's built off the back, but has the valves for my fuel tanks. So what I did, actually, port tank was reversed over to starboard, and then starboard engine was on port tank. So anyway, labeled well. I switched them to their proper tanks, so they're pulling off the correct sides. I may switch them back. It may balance the boat better. I haven't noticed any issues with it. But anyway, we've got our fuel filters back there. A rusty old live well pump, which needs to be replaced. I really hope that through all is closed, is it? No, it's not. Probably should close that. I'm gonna do that real quick. Another nice thing about having inline 6 is you can set stuff on top of them. Okay. But I came through here. I changed all my fluids except for my transmission fluids. Those are those ZF transmissions. It's a little dirtier down here than I would like. We've got a little bit of green action going on the strainers and whatnot from electrolysis. That is what I'm gonna address today. I've got a couple grounding wires that need to be redone on a few of my grounding bus bars. But anyway, can I reach over here? See, this is how much space I have in here. Then I'll show you a couple other cool things here in a second, but let me grab that valve real quick. You know, someone said in the comments I shouldn't be using chisels and hammers on my boat. I don't know about you guys, but a lot easier than not using chisels and hammers. I mean, come on, what's wrong with that? If I need to get something to move or wedge in place, I'm gonna move it. See the sediment down there and the bowls. Yeah, I need to clean those out. I'll probably end up pulling these off and doing, you know, performance K&N intakes that are a little better, so the motors aren't breathing in dust and paint chips or whatever can get by the foam filter if it isn't sitting right. We've got my heat exchanger for the engines, so that's where the raw water comes in. And then these engines, versus how I had the C-Ray with the 454 gas motor set up, these engines actually cool themselves with antifreeze through the blocks, so they're closed loop, and then the raw water just goes through the heat exchangers, which is how it should be. Which, by the way, I need to replace my water pump impellers on these. Here's my AC strainer, so I'm gonna close my valve and then pull the strainer out and clean it. It's probably really gross. Boat has a couple batteries tied together for engine starting. Those definitely need to be replaced. I've been procrastinating because they've been charging, and I've been paralleling them to start them each time. You can see my charger is saying the status is green, but it's on parallel, and port is indicated an error, probably because the battery is trash, which is what it is. There's a couple more. There's my house bank over there. Leave a message in the comments, but I might cut out my mufflers on this thing. I think it would sound pretty good. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah, I'd say the AC strainer was a little gross. Very gross. Need to clean that out. I'd say that's a little better. Look, you can see right through it now. So, air conditioning 101. If it's not working, first thing you need to check is your strainer. If your strainer's clogged, you don't have water flow, your unit's gonna throw a high pressure fault and tell you that it's upset. So check your flow. If you have a lift cap boat, you may need to come down here, and once you get the boat back in the water, it might be airlocked. You need to come down here, open up your strainer cap and let some water bleed through and get that air out of there. Remember, only hand tight. For some reason, even if I go hand tight, it still doesn't want me to open it after I'm done, but there we go. Turn the valve back on, and I'm gonna go restart the air conditioner. Also, side note, we've got this awesome set of rocket launchers that are off the tuna tower. But this one down here, you know, a buddy mentioned to me I should just go ahead and remove it. I don't need that rod holder, and to be honest, it is a shin, foot, head killer. So I'm gonna pull these bolt-on ones off. You see the rest of them are welded on. I'm gonna take this bolt-on rocket launcher off and rod holder off and get that out of our way. Easy enough. And the goal after the season too, I'm gonna do my hull side repair, get the paint finished, is have a detailer crew come through and clean this boat up like new. Get the paint back to where it needs to be, and then all the gel coat as well after I finish all my fiberglass repairs. That's pretty new for me. Haven't had a good looking boat ever. Another example where I got really lucky with this boat. So look at that. That is a new Dometic air conditioning unit. What size is it? It is 115 volt, 12,000 BTU. That is kick ass, I tell you what. All insulated, beautifully done job. That is not the original unit, which is sweet. Does it even say the year on it? Nope, I don't see it. Anyway, pretty cool. All right, I got the AC plug-in away. I had to pull the hose off the pump and force water through and prime it. I think that pump's going out. It's probably 24 years old, so I'll watch that pump throughout the summer, and if I need to replace it, I'll go down there and replace it. But we have that fixed. Got those two bad boys off, easy stuff. Now we're getting down to what I really came here to do today, which is reinstall those battery cables down there. Not battery cables, ground cables that have broken off my rudder grounding fittings. So I need a wrench. I'm gonna crimp some new cable on there and then hopefully tie that all back together so I don't have any bad electrolysis issues. But you can see down here, it's pretty much the business end of my tunnels. Big plates there that mount my struts for my prop shafts. My props are just behind it in the tunnels. And then my steering actuators for my autopilot control, as well as the big tie bar between my two rudders. So, all good there, plus my aft bilge. This thing likes to sit forward, so there's never any water in my aft bilge. It always goes to my mid bilge. And then my big exhaust outlet pipes, which, like I said, I think I'm gonna try and find my mufflers and cut those out if I can. I don't even know how to get to them. We're gonna get down there and figure that out. So these are those grounding cables I'm talking about. The whole boat has them. Some are good, some are bad. Some just blatantly need to be replaced. But the two I'm talking about are on my rudders, which have a lot of movement, so you only wonder, you know, why those broke off. But here is the one I have first. So Tiara labels everything nicely. Corroded on both ends. Number 12. Where this is supposed to go is right here. You can see. And then down how that one's connected. This one will go right here on the back side, and then down to the base of the rudder right there. So I gotta pull that one off, pull this one off, put the cable back on. I gotta do that on both sides. So crimping new cable and getting them back in. But here is there's another pump that doesn't work. That's a C-chest pump. Probably redo that hose. I closed that C-cock, so there's no issues. But we're looking in here. We've got fuel tanks. Yeah, just a void where my tunnel was glassed in. Some wire runs. But over here, the other side of my fuel tank, and then my muffler that I was talking about. See that? So, I don't know. Maybe, geez, how the heck? Maybe I gotta cut some of this wall out to get to the muffler there. I mean, I don't even know if it's worth pulling the muffler out. Probably not, but, you know, when in Rome, it's my boat, right? Well, I got them off. Easy enough, just a pain in the butt. But I broke another one in the process, so I'm gonna have to replace one for the end of that line too. Here's the next fun part. So these engines, I think they're happiest running at like 175 or something like that, temperature-wise, Fahrenheit. Right now, this one's running at 200, and this one's right at 160. I'm guessing that the water pump impellers have not been replaced in 5 years, since the oil and filters hadn't been replaced in 5 years. So what I'm doing now is what I've done a million times to a ton of other boats, but probably something you should do every single time you buy a new to you boat. But that is replace the things that cool the engines. So I'm gonna throw new impellers in these TAMD 63s. Normally don't do this. I normally try to do the hard one first and the easy one second. I'm gonna do the easy one first because I'm not even sure these are the right impeller sizes. Interested to see if this one's missing any fins. Same with this one, because this one is getting hotter. If they both look fine when I pull them out, I'll probably remove the thermostat housing and make sure that looks clean. All right, this is changing your water pump impeller on a Volvo Penta TAMD 63 high performance. Right down here underneath the heat exchanger, 8mm socket, and it is a really, really tight spot. I did two things for myself. I shut the through hull off for my engine strainer. I'm gonna remove this intake water hose so I have more space right there. So I just pulled my two hose clamps off, and I'm gonna pull this hose off and hopefully hopefully not make too big of a mess. Oh man. And this is supposed to be the easy side. Got the hose off. That helps me quite a bit with space. God, that was a pain in the butt. I need to go take a break. So when it's 100 degrees outside and your boat has air conditioning, it's like 75 degrees up there, this is what you do. Come pop down on the beanbag, or at least this is what I do. Grab a cold beer and cool off until we go back out and face the adversity that is changing hard to get to water pump impellers. See if I can give you a shot. It was really easy to get to those bolts there, and I've got them all loose. They're 8mm. You can see them starting to leak. I'm going to pull the plate off and hopefully the impeller comes out fairly easily. There we go. See, I like that. Couple 6 little bolts. Nice. Easy, easy. You know, I've been made fun of because of this outfit and this look. But honestly, white overalls, kind of a game changer. Got pockets everywhere. Keep my clothes underneath clean. Yeah, don't sleep on these painter white overalls. Not bad boat fixing gear. But I'm heading back right now. It's the next day to finish my water pump impeller job. I needed an impeller puller, which I snagged to get this thing out. It's just not possible with a screwdriver, and there's no removing the housing on these Volvo diesels. You have to have the proper tool to pull that impeller out. So we're gonna go back in there. Hopefully it comes right out with this nice impeller puller. I'll show you how that works in a second. You know what? I like the slip. I'm protected from the water because of this wooden brake wall down there, and it's kind of hard to see because the tide is high right now. But it protects the waves, or dissipates the waves, which is awesome. But the water back here is just all brackish. And I get a scum line on the back of the boat, which is easily washable. Not to mention my GO&O in Goose's Island is a little sooty from the diesel soot when I accelerate, as you guys saw, which I'm working out. I've got some injector cleaner in there. We're cleaning up a few other things. Hopefully that goes away soon, but from what I've read, it's pretty typical of these TAMD 63 Volvos that are mechanically injected. And yes, 10 out of 10. Dickies white painter overalls. Great at-home working apparel. And I got a holder for my drink. All right, guys, so I have the, I got a handy little water pump impeller puller tool on this. The big nut threads into the metal insert on the impeller, and then the small set screw here threads through the middle of it and then pushes the impeller out as I crank it with my socket here. So it's sliding right out right now. I'm gonna keep cranking on it. Hopefully it comes the rest of the way pretty easily, and then get the new one in. But if you look, that's that inner portion of the impeller I'm talking about. It threads into that and then just uses wedged force of the screw in there to pull it out. Instead of using my crank wrench, I got my electric. Here we go. That's what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. You're good in a lot of applications, but in this one, you get to go back in the toolkit Bye-bye. Well, after a couple wiggles and pulls, she came right out. And actually, isn't in that bad a shape. So I'm gonna have to check my thermostats when I'm done installing the new water pump impeller to make sure those guys look okay. But here's my little removal tool. Just threads right in to the brass there. So the brass is soft enough to take the threads, and then slowly pulls this out. And I got it about halfway out and then started wiggling it and slid right out. New one should go in a lot easier, especially with some good old lubricant. But there you go, there's the hole. That's where it is. Gonna lube it up with some grease, which I normally do. Some people may frown upon it. I bet you could use some Dawn dish soap. It'd probably work pretty well too. Slide the new impeller in. New, old. There's a little bit of fin wear. I don't know, not enough to, I think, keep the motor at higher temps, but who knows. These fins are a little aged. No like bad cracking, but probably good we're putting a new impeller in there. So I'm gonna use my grease that's in a cup back there, grease this up, and hopefully it slides in pretty easily. This part's gonna get a little messy, but I got my grease cup. Take 2 fingers, gonna reach in with grease, lube the inside of my shaft. Yep, lubing my shaft. Lube the inside inner walls of the housing, and then lube my fins here. And again, this will all come out in the wash. Ain't hurting nothing. Some guys may have some opinions on this whole ordeal, but listen, a little grease is just gonna come right out the water exit, no problem. And listen, I'm not doing a whole lot of grease. That's what it looks like. Gotta get these in there somehow. Ain't just installing themselves dry. So there it goes, right in. Woo! Nice. And here you go. There's my new gasket. No gasket maker. It's just kind of a polymer gasket. That's the old one. New gasket on. And I got my 6 little screws here. So I'm gonna place the gasket and then start all those screws by hand. New plate is on and in. Bolts are threaded up. Now I just got to tighten them down. Believe it or not, I had to remove my oil filter right here, which thankfully stays dry when the engine's off, so it didn't leak a whole lot of oil. But I had to remove that filter to actually get access to it, including my housing here and our water feed hose. So there's that oil filter, and then my housing is this elbow over here, so I got to install that after I get this plate tightened up. Got the port side put back together, hose on, elbow on, oil filter back on, and the plate tightened up. So leave it be, move over to the starboard side. I didn't take the hose off or the elbow off on the starboard side, so hopefully this one goes a little quicker. And then I'll fire them both up and check for leaks and make sure they're pumping water to the back. It's 77 degrees right now, but it is still really warm down here. Just so you all see the acrobatics of such heat. I had to grab a oil filter wrench to remove the oil filter so I have room to get to the impeller faceplate. And you know, this is always a fun part. As expected, this impeller looks totally fine. I mean, I'd run that for another year or two. And that engine, this one here, was cooling at 160 degrees, so exactly where I want it to be. Which tells me, you know, we're gonna go ahead and replace the impeller either way. But that tells me that there's probably a clogged or stuck thermostat on this motor, and the thermostat is right underneath this piece. So I'm gonna run it first with the new impeller, and then if I'm still getting temperatures of like 190, I'll pull this thermostat housing and clean it up. But you know, this is good to do. If these truly are 5 years old, done at the last oil change, they needed to be done no matter what. But you know what it tells me? This boat did not have a lot of hours put on it between when I changed the oil and fuel filters at 1276 versus when the previous owner had the oil filters, fuel filters, oil, and impellers changed. So that's a good thing, right? Low hours, not a whole lot of use. Sat on the land for a while. I'll take it. All right, same thing, not gonna show it again. Gonna grease up the impeller, not too much grease. Slide it in, bolt the plate back up, call it a day, because we're losing daylight, but man, it is beautiful out right now. But I'm warm, and this will have to wait till another day. Huh. I wonder why the paint's missing right here. That's strange. It's not missing on this side. But when I lean over, guess what? This is exactly where I'm leaning to get to the water pump impeller. Imagine that. Listen, that's all I got for you guys right now. The 2000 Pursuit 3400 is running and driving great. I've put 4 months of usage on it now since I brought it down from New Jersey. Yes, Roman and I made it back. We got back to the dock at like 10:30 p.m. On one engine. This thing has little tiny rudders, so it's not like a dead rise. Couldn't park the damn thing. Jostled back and forth for 30 minutes, eventually shut the motors down up against the end of the slips pilings, and I'll go show you that real quick. So we pulled in right here, shut the motor down here in front of my 2 pilings, and literally between me pushing off the bow of that boat and Roman grabbing this back piling, we forced her out and walked her around this piling and into the slip. So that wasn't fun. Like I showed you, I had to dump 40 gallons of diesel in both tanks, pre-prime the port engine over there, and eventually it fired up. No problem, and has run great ever since. But now I've just been tackling miscellaneous items, doing some good maintenance to the motors, like these water pump impellers, and just getting them running good. You know, I mean, 370 horsepower out of a 5.5 liter turbocharged inline 6 diesel is a lot of horsepower. I remember at John Deere, our 6.8 liter inline 6 turbocharged diesel was making like 250 max, maybe 260 max. These are at 370. So this is a high performance, like it says, diesel engine. You know, you crabbers out there, you fishermen, you're running big displacement diesel motors that are making you know, 400 horsepower, but they're 8.3 liters, or they're the Caterpillar equivalent, Cummins equivalent. I don't think any Fisherman are running Volvos, but, you know, like in a newer boat, all these Volvos are small displacement and high horsepower. So, you know, longevity-wise, I'm sure that cuts down a little bit on these motors. You know, most diesel engines that are built for commercial use are good for 10,000 hours, especially for marine diesels. But these I wouldn't be surprised if they're built for 8,000 hours or something like that. But you know what? These motors are in dump trucks. They're in excavators. Volvo put them in a lot of their commercial equipment. So I could be wrong. I tell you what, with John Deere diesels that were used in marine applications, we always put more horsepower out of them because of how efficiently they could be cooled by the seawater. So, you know, maybe some higher horsepower out of these things isn't the worst thing, because they can cool more efficiently, which was ultimately our journey here with the new impellers. But who am I? I'm just a guy who owns a boat that does most of his own work and, you know, tries to keep it reasonably simple and cost effective. But anyway, you guys have been awesome. We're up to 22,000 subscribers right now. Last month was incredible. The love that the Pursuit got was amazing. That TR 4000 Express is still for sale, so hit me up if you guys are interested in that. I've got a couple interested buyers. I'm hoping to move that along soon, but not the first, not the last. This Pursuit is going to be around for a very long time, and boy, we've been having a great time with it. So if you appreciate the content, this is Boat Restoration by Ben. Like and subscribe to the channel. Give us some love. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time. All right, take it easy, folks. I'm not sure you guys can see a whole lot, but it's about 9:30 at night. Pretty beautiful out here. But this is what it's all about. This is the grind. Work 8 to 10 hours a day. Get off work, come home, work another 4 to 6. It's a tough grind, but I think it's going to be worth it one day. Hopefully I can look back at this moment right here where life is pretty dang good and appreciate all the hard work that was put in now. Pay off for the future. So it pays off for the future.